Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and today I'm going to be talking about Kill Team and 1,000 Suns from the new White Dwarf, which has just hit the Discord. As you can tell, I'm in a different place to normal, and it's probably really echoey. Nothing I can do about that right now, sorry. But as you can see, I have brought down my lovely 1,000 Suns Kill Team that I hope is legal. Let me just read this and then we'll find out. So I missed the original Warhammer community article saying, 1,000 Suns, this is the army list you can put together. This is what I think is legal, but we're going to read it now. But of course, first, if you're already subscribed to my channel, I'd like to give you a big circle hello. Wow, such wholesomeness on such a lovely sunny day. If you want that in the next video, it could be all yours. All you have to do is subscribe, like, leave a comment, and there you go. Let's talk 1,000 Suns. As you can tell, I've gone with a lovely silver and red scheme, not the classic Horus Heresy colour scheme of red and gold. This is red and silver. They're my own cult. They're the cult of glass. Alright, let's talk about this. So I'm not going to spend too long talking about how you can assemble the kill team, because everybody else already covered this. Unfortunately, I was away. I was on holiday, so I didn't cover it. Long story short, you can, the highlights are you can have 2 gunners or you can have 3 sorcerers. You can mix and match your rubrics with your Zangors as much as you want, but there are a few limitations. So if you want to throw in a bunch of Zangors, you're probably not going to be able to get 2 heavy gunners. If you want to throw in some sorcerers, you're not going to be able to blah, 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 blah. Cool. Highlights. You always take a sorcerer as your leader. 100%, there's no question on that now. That's about it. That was a very short rundown of highlights. 3 sorcerers. Okay, that's what we're all here. My speculation before this was, are we going to get new psychic powers? Is that going to change how effective sorcerers are? Is that going to be the difference between, for example, pure power creep in the form of all White Dwarf and proper kill teams are just going to be straight up stronger? Or is there going to be some niche situations where you still would want to take the Compendium team? Let's find out. I'm looking over here, which is very visually unfriendly, because I know that just here is where I'm going to put all of the data sheets and stuff. But that's not the prime setup. Let's dive in. First up, we have the ability. These are the Boons of Zinch, the mutations, etc. This is, for example, the Vet Guard get their strategic assets. I think that's what they're called. The Commandos get their charge out of cover. This is the special ability that should potentially define the faction. So, guys, this is going to be a long one. Strap in. I'm just going to read this all because otherwise I'll miss something. Right, Boons of Zinch. Boons of Zinch are chaos blessings available to Warp Coven operatives. When a Sorcerer operative is added to your roster or datasheet, it gains 1 Boon of Zinch. Select or... We're going to select. We're not going to randomly. What? This is a narrative. When you select a boon for a sorcerer operative to gain, you can select 1 from any of the categories on the right, but you cannot select 1 a sorcerer operative on your roster or datasheet already has. So you can't select 2. Cool. If you have 3 sorcerers, you can have 3 different boons. It's going to be... So just initial reading, we have mutation, fate, etheric. I'm not sure if the mutation boon is the boon, or if the 3 inside there, Warp Swell, Mutant Appendage, and Avian Talons are the boon. So I'd have to read a little bit closer. So, for example, I don't know if you can give all 3 of your sorcerers mutation, and then they just have the 3 different boons inside there. Hopefully, I'll put over there's some text here where I give you the answer. But just initial reading, not sure. Mutation, Warp Swell. Add 1 to the normal damage characteristic of melee weapons this operative is equipped with. Mutant Appendage. Once per turning point during this operative's activation, it can perform a mission action or the pickup action for 1 less AP to a minimum of 0 AP. Avian Talons. Each time this operative fights in combat, if it performs a charge action during this activation, in the resolved successful hit step of that combat, if you did not retain any critical hits, you can strike with 1 normal hit as if it were a critical hit. Fate. Patron of Destiny. Once per turning point, when this operative is fighting in combat or making a shooting attack, or a shooting attack is made against it, you can use the Command Reroll Tactical Ploy, without spending any CP. Each time you do so, roll 1d6 on a 1 to 3, the operative loses this ability for the rest of the battle. So a command reroll once per turning point, but you almost have a 50-50 of losing it. Incorporeal Psychic. Ranged weapons this operative is equipped with, excluding ranged weapons from psychic power, gain the lethal 5-up and no cover special rules. Now, I love lethal 5-up, okay? But I know that these sorcerers only have pistols, so that is less inherently attractive. And Time Walker, add 1 to the attack characteristic of melee weapons for this operative. This operative is equipped with, add, okay, Time Walker's a go-to. That looks very nice. Okay, I like it. Etheric, immaterial, this operative gains the keyword flight. Crystalline, improve this operative's save characteristic by 1. This operative has a 4-up invuln. Oh man, you know what? Mutation seems a bit questionable, but Fate and Etheric, I can immediately see, yes, these are interesting. Also, just noting it here, because obviously this would be a really big thing. If you were able to take these guys and pick their boons before every game, that would be super strong. However, the way it's worded at the top here, blah, 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 blah. When a sorcerer operative is added to your roster or data slate, it gains 1 boon of Zinj. You select it at that point. So when you add it to your roster, before a game happens, you give it the boon. So there's no kind of crazy, I see that this terrain is really vertical, I'm giving this guy fly. You have to figure that out. But, with Thousand Suns, if you want to run a pretty strict rubric list and you could have just 10 sorcerers on your list and have them all with different boons and you can pick and swap, like that would be a valid thing. Psychic action. So this is where it could get super funky. When a warp common sorcerer operative is added to your roster or data, you must select one of the following psychic disciplines for it to study. Okay, so again, you decide this before the game starts. You don't get to swap. Destiny, Temperic, or Warp Fire, that operative knows the psychic powers associated with that discipline. Destiny discipline, Omniliberal. Weave Fate, sorry. Select one friendly Warp Coven operative visible to this operative. Till the end of the turning point, each time a shooting attack is made against that operative, in the roll defense dice step of that shooting attack, you can reroll any or all of your defense dice. Okay, cool. Nice defensive buff. Twist Destiny. Select one enemy operative visible to this operative until the end of the turning point. Each time that operative fights in combat or makes a shooting attack in the roll attack dice step of that shooting attack, your opponent cannot reroll their attack dice. Obviously, super useful against Grey Knights. Screw them. Or anything with Ceaseless or Relentless, obviously. And that enemy operative ignores all positive modifiers to its APL. Doombolt. Perform a free shoot action using the following ranged weapon. Doombolt. Attacks 4, hitting on 3s, 3/3, lethal 5-up, mortal wounds 2. That's pretty nice. I can't remember if that's what Doombolt was in the original. Temperic Discipline. Ephemeral Instability. Until the end of the turning point, subtract circle, or white, from the distance that enemy operatives can move when performing charge and dash actions. Now notice that it does include dash here, so now if somebody dashes, they're only dashing triangle or black. And that just happens to anyone. Until the end of the turn point, subtract circle from distance that enemy operative. Do you have to be in line of sight to shoot someone with a psychic power? It's not a shooting action, so I don't think so. I think you just cast that on anyone on the battlefield. That's pretty crazy, actually. That's really nice. Temporal Manipulation. Select one friendly Warp Coven operative visible to and within red of this operative. That operative gains 2 D3 lost wounds. So, a pretty standard medic ability there. Flux Blast. Perform a shoot action using the following ranged weapon. Flux Blast. Attack 4, hitting on 3s, 3/4. It's blast and it's rending. I quite like rending. I think rending's pretty strong. And again, ephemeral instability. Sounds pretty nice. Warp Fire Discipline. Warp Portal. Select one friendly Warp Coven operative visible to and within blue of this operative that has not performed an action in which it moved during this turning point. Remove it from the kill zone and set it back up again within red of this operative and not within engagement range of an enemy operative. That friendly operative cannot perform actions in which it moves during this turning point. So due to the range restrictions there, this seems like a short hop sort of thing. So you might, I don't know, I'm kind of Struggling to see exactly when you'd use that, but I suppose you could move up, get an operative on a point, perform the action, then have your sorcerer run in, hopefully remain in cover, whereas the guy on the point is out of position. Use this to teleport the guy into safety, maybe? Not sure. I'd have to reread that and think of use cases for it. Infernal Fire. Select one enemy operative visible to this operative until the end of the turn point. Each time a friendly warp common operative fights in combat or makes a shooting attack against that enemy operative in the roll attack dice step, you can re-roll any or all of your attack dice. So against one model, you give them Relentless. Cool. Certainly, if you're running in there with a bunch of Zangor with Great Blades or whatever those do, I assume those are going to be good. We'll find out soon. Especially if you're going into things like Custodes or, with one big model that you need to kill. Firestorm. Perform a free shoot action using the following ranged weapon. Firestorm. Attacks 5, hitting on 4s, 2/2, barrage blast, indirect. So I believe Firestorm's the same there, which makes me think that Doombolt is probably the same too. Okay, well, so obviously that is a huge difference to the Compendium regarding psychic powers. And the fact that you can now take 3 sorcerers, I'm struggling to see when I wouldn't take 3 sorcerers. The only reason I wouldn't take 3 sorcerers is if I'm going to try and put in 2 heavy gunners, but having seen this, I'm never going to try and do that. Strategic Ploys. Exalted Astartes. Till the end of the turn point, each time a friendly sorcerer operative is activated, if it does not perform a shoot action during that activation, it can perform 2 fight actions. Okay, so standard. If it does not perform a fight action during that activation, it can perform 2 shoot actions during that activation, but it must select different ranged weapons for those shooting attacks. Ranged weapons from a warp common psychic power are eligible weapons for this. Okay, cool. So this specifically calls out that you will be able to psychic power twice. Now, I assume, much like the Compendium team, if you have one of your models with the banner, you can just see him there, I think. That's how you will be able to psychic action twice. In which case, you pair that with Exalted Astartes and you're doing some crazy damage. There's no doubt about that. Alternatively, you'll still be able to psychic power and then still use a shoot pistol. Your standard pistol. Which almost makes me wonder why they actually went back and FAQ'd malicious volleys when this is basically malicious volleys before the FAQ. But whatever. Slow and purposeful. Oh, everything is 1 CP, just to clarify. Oh, sorry, Psychic Dominion. Until the end of the turning point, friendly sorcerer operatives can perform the Manifest Psychic Power action twice. Oh, okay, cool. So you're not necessarily going to need your banner. You can pair these 2 up. Obviously, Psychic Dominion, have everybody in position for a big, not Alpha Strike, but a big turn. Psychic Dominion, Exalted Astartes. You're just raining down all of your psychic action powers on them. That's going to be a brutal turn. Damn. Slow and purposeful. Until the end of the turn point, each time a friendly Rubric Marine operative makes a shooting attack, if it has not performed a charge, fallback, or move action during this turning point, the roll attack dice step of that shooting action, you can reroll any or all of your attack dice results of 1 result. So having read this so far, this seems meh, because really you're only going to be using that for your guy here with the Soul Reaper Cannon and 1 other dude. And it's not fire twice, you only have 2 APL, so that's fine, but relentless, isn't it? Yeah, it's just relentless on 1 shooting attack. Savage Herd. Until the end of the turn point, each time a friendly Zangor operative fights in combat, before rolling your attack dice for that combat, you can retain 1 as a successful normal hit without rolling it. Okay, it's kind of like cover, but for if another friendly Zangor operative is supporting them in combat, you can retain 1 as a successful crit. So obviously, so far, I haven't looked at the actual data sheets yet, but I don't know why you wouldn't take 3 sorcerers. Tactical Ploys. Capricious Plan. Use this tactical ploy at the end of a friendly sorcerer operative's activation. You can immediately perform a free dash action with that operative and change its order. These seem strong, but I will say very CP hungry. Very CP hungry. I mean, you're going to want to use all your CP very carefully here because these are all good. You can't spend them wrong, but you can not spend them as much as you might like. Psychic Cabal. Use this tactical ploy when you would select a psychic power to be resolved by a friendly sorcerer operative as a result of performing the Manifest Psychic Power action. You can select a psychic power from a discipline, another friendly sorcerer operative within... Oh, okay. Again, super strong. You can immediately see how this combos with Psychic Dominion and Exalted Astartes. but you're spending so much CP to do all this, which is great, because when you spend a CP, you want things to happen, but you don't have enough CP. Mutant Herd. Use this tactical point at the start of a friendly Zag operative activation. Select one other ready friendly Zag operative visible to and within blue of that operative that is eligible to be activated. After that operative's activation, activate that other operative before your opponent activates any operatives or performs an Overwatch action. So you basically make a guy GA2. Schemes have changed. Use this tactical point at the start of the target reveal step of the strategy phase or when you activate a ready friendly Warp Covenant operative. Discard one of your TacOps. Any victory points scored from it are lost, and randomly determine a new TacOps from those remaining in your TacOps deck. Now that sounds super cool, super fluffy. Not sure when I'd use it. Yeah, so nothing against that, but considering how good everything else is there, I'm not sure when I'd ever use that. I guess the only time might be if you've chosen challenge and headhunter, and your opponent has countered that by just hiding their leader, something like that, right? Or the challenge type. Finally, we get on to the, what are they called? Datasheets, okay. Sorcerer. So it's movement 3, APL 3, GA1, defense 3, save 3 up, wounds 13. Inferno Bolt Pistol is the same, Warp Flame Pistol, oh, hold on. This is different. In the Compendium, you could take a Plasma Pistol, and you always took a Plasma Pistol, because why wouldn't you? And you would take a Plasma Pistol, and it made sense, because in the new Thousand Suns Codex for 40k, you can take a Plasma Pistol. They've removed that here. So, instead you have an Inferno Bolt Pistol or a Warp Flame Pistol. Okay, they're both the standard range red, they both have AP1, Warp Flame Pistol has Torrent 1 inch, or Torrent Black. As we've kind of recently discussed and just found out, Torrent kind of sucks, so maybe don't take that. But we do have a new close combat weapon in the Prosperine Kopesh, which is identical to the 4 stave, but has a lethal 5 up instead of a stun, which instantly makes me want to take that instead of the 4 stave. I love lethal 5 up, just throwing it out there. I'll always take it. And then they have abilities. Favoured by change, this operative has a 5 up invuln save. Rubric command, once per turning point, when a friendly Rubric Marine operative visible to and within blue of this operative is activated, you can add 1 to that friendly operative's APL. I believe they already had that, but it might have been a psychic action or a ploy or something, or it might just have been an ability. But either way, that's obviously really good. Because just off the top of my head, this is the team you're going to run. You're going to run 3 sorcerers, a dude with the banner, a normal dude, because there's nothing else to take, and a warp gunner, a Soul Reaper cannon, which means you are going to have standard Rubric Marines to move around, and their big negative is APL 2, but you'll be able to throw that on them. And then you have Relentless. If this operative is equipped with a 4 stave and a Prospering Kopesh, those melee weapons gain the Relentless special rule for this operative. Let me reread that. If this operative is equipped with a 4 stave and a Prospering Kopesh, those melee weapons gain the Relentless special rule for this operative. So obviously something that I had missed in the building of the list is you don't have to give them a pistol. You can give them the 2 close combat weapons, and then both of those will gain Relentless. So your Prospering Kopesh can be 4 attacks, lethal 5 up Relentless, which means you're re-rolling all dice, which is huge, because if you don't know on Relentless, it's not just re-rolling misses. If you need to fish for crits, you now have a lethal 5 up, so that's actually really cool. I'm not saying you have to do that, it's just you can do that. And then they manifest Psychic Power as an action, still 1 AP. Then we get the Rubric Marine Gunner. So you can either give this guy a Soul Reaper Cannon or a Warp Flamer. The only way you can take 2 of these is if you have 4 other Rubric Marines in your list. Going up to the Sorcerer back there, you see they are not a Rubric Marine. So if you want to get 2 of these guys, you have to drop your Sorcerers. And you're not going to do that. Soul Reaper Cannon, again, is the standout here, being attack 6, hitting on 3s, 3-4, AP1, Fusillade. Fusillade is very questionable. I don't think it's something you're going to use on a regular basis. But with 6 attacks at AP1, you might. Warp Flamer is a standard Flamer, although it is critting and hitting on 4s, which is very nice. But again, the usefulness of Flamers at this point is very much in question due to how Torrent works. 5 up invuln save. All this does, each time a shooting attack is made against this operative, if the ranged weapon has a normal damage characteristic of 3 or less, this operative is treated as having a save characteristic of 2 up for that shooting attack. Okay, so that's nice and simple. Before, I believe All Is Dust was worded slightly differently, and it specifically called out if the profile shooting was a 3-4 weapon, which meant it was basically just bolters and beneath that it worked against. Now it just says normal damage of 3. So that could be, and then the crit could be anything, but normal damage 3, so that's cool. This operative cannot move more than 3 circles during its activation. That makes sense. It's a delicate way of putting in how kind of slow the Rubric Marines are. Rubric Marine Icon Bearer. Everything the same, all good, we don't need to go over it. Movement 3, APL 2, Wounds 12. Inferno Bolt Gun, still a really good gun. It's a bolter, but with AP 1, which is just... AP 1's always good. 5 up invuln. All Is Dust is the same, not going to go over that again. Icon Bearer. When determining control of an objective marker, treat this operative's APL characteristic as being 1 higher. Note that this is not a modifier. Cool. Standard icon stuff. But Icon of Flame. Once per turning point, a friendly sorcerer operative within red of this operative can perform a free manifest psychic power action. Rubric Marine Warrior. A standard warrior. The only reason you're taking this guy is because you can't take anything else. Basically. Okay, easy. Zangor Champion. Okay, so this is the new Zangor stuff. So let's see what they are. So they're movement 3, standard. APL 2, yep. GA 1, defense 3, save 6 up, but that's fine, they have an invuln. Wounds 8. Let's go over the weapons. Zangor Great Axe. 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4-5. Brutal, lethal 5 up. Zangor Great Blade. Exactly the same, but it has lethal 5 up and reap 1. Okay, hold on. Savage Assault. This is 1 AP, it's an ability. Perform a free fight action with this operative. Oh, okay, that's just, yep, that's a sentence. Perform a free fight action with this operative. After completing that action's fight sequence, if this operative is still within engagement range of an enemy operative, you can immediately fight in combat with this operative again. You do not have to select the same target. So obviously that's really nice. That's really good. I like it. It seems solid. I can definitely see a reason to have some Zangor champions on your roster. I'd have to think about this, but potentially you're wanting 3, what are these dudes? Sorcerers, 1 Soul Reaper cannon, and then these guys are questionable. You know what? There's no reason to take a normal rubric. You swap him out straight away, if you can, and still have 3 sorcerers, etc. Swap him out, take in a Zangor champion. Are you going to use the banner? Probably. Don't swap the banner out. But this guy who takes up 2 slots, unless I'm mistaken, which I possibly am, I'd have to go and reread it. That's 2 Zangors right there. That could be either 1 or 2 champions. I don't know how many you can take. But a Zangor champion definitely seems like a solid addition to these guys. Zangor fighters. The Zangor fighter, don't be thrown by the word fighter. It's just a normal dude who has all the same stuff that he had before. There's no need to talk about him. Hornbearer, yeah. Till the end of the turning point, add triangle or black to the movement characteristic of friendly Zangor operatives. So the reason, this is very much a thing where you take this if you're going to buff like an entire 10-man squad. On its own, I'm not dropping 3 sorcerers at this point, so I don't know if this really has the value. And then Soul Reaper Cannon, still really strong. Icon Bearer does the same thing that all Icon Bearers do, with +1 APL when it comes to holding objectives. Herd Banner till the end of the turning point, while a friendly Zangor operative is within blue of this operative, that friendly operative is invigorated by the Herd Banner, while an operative is invigorated by the Herd Banner, improve its invuln save by 1. So 4 up invuln. Okay, so very initial thoughts on list building. Although I have 6 rubrics lined up here, I don't think this is what you're going to run. I think you're dropping at least 1 rubric for 2 Zangors. And you might even drop the banner for 2 Zangors. And because of how strong the shooting from your sorcerers is, you might drop the Soul Reaper cannon for another 2 Zangors. So that's 6 Zangors you're able to take in place of these 3 rubrics. The reason, well, firstly, I don't know yet, right? But the reason that I would say that's something you should consider is because of the objective game. Yes, having these 6 rubrics, super killy, pretty darn durable. But this is going to be a tough objective game. And then the sorcerers, how are you equipping them? In reality, I think you could actually give all of them double melee and play them in a very aggressive pushing up the board way. Leave your Soul Reaper cannon at the back as your vantage point sniper, essentially. And then these 3 doing what they need to do to be the objective grabbers. Because the other rubrics aren't going to do that, basically. So, you've got to really think about what you want to do with your team here. Yes, 6 rubrics, gonna be cool, but probably not actually the best, and you do need something on objectives. But that could all change when we read the equipment, so let's go for it. Operatives in your kill team can be equipped with equipment in this list as specified in the mission sequence. Any equipment marked with a plus can be selected a maximum of once, and each operative can be equipped with no more than 1 of each item. Cool. Standard equipment stuff. So gargoyle bayonets, you put these on your standard rubrics if you want them to melee. In the previous version of the game, in the Compendium team, I would have said this has some merit. Now, I don't think you need it. You've got 3 sorcerers if you need to melee. You've got a Zangor champion if you need to melee. You don't need this on a standard rubric. High capacity magazine, 1/3 EP. Select 1 auto pistol, inferno bolt pistol, or inferno bolt gun the operative is equipped with. That weapon gains the ceaseless special rule for this battle. If you selected an auto pistol, the equipment costs 1, otherwise it costs 3. So this can't be put on, for example, the Soul Reaper cannon. I'm not seeing a reason I'd use this. 3 EP to put ceaseless on a standard warp flame or bolt gun. Inferno bolt gun, we'll read the rest of the equipment, but off the top of my head, doesn't seem worth it. Because again, I'm not taking the rubrics to shoot, really. They have good guns, but that's not why they're taken. So, Occult Talisman. The operative gains the following ability for the battle. Occult Talisman, each time this operative would lose a wound as a result of, 5 up, feel no pain. That's very cool. Can you put this on anything? Yes. Okay, well, hey, there's your first auto take. For 2 EP, to give any of your guys a 5 up, feel no pain, take that. Sorcerer Scroll, 4 EP, so this is going to be a big one. Sorcerer Operative only. Sorcerer Scroll, when this operative gains this ability, select 1 psychic power from a discipline that this operative has not studied. Once in the battle, when this operative performs the manifest psychic power action, if it is not within engagement range of an enemy operative, you can select that psychic power to resolve for that action. So this is the same as one of the one of the ploys that cost 1 CP. Generally, from the Compendium, we've decided that 1 CP is worth 3 EP. In here, they're charging us 4 EP. I can see this having merit. Not sure if it's an auto take, but if you have like a very specific game plan, possibly. Arcane Robes. Sorcerer only, obviously. Arcane Robes, once per battle, when critical damage would be inflicted upon this operative, you can use this ability. If you do so, that attack dice inflicts normal damage instead. 2 EP, that's pretty good, but from the looks of it, specifically due to Sorcerer's Scroll and your desire to use that or not, we might not have the EP to spare. In Sorcered Rounds, Zangor Fighter Operative only, select 1 auto pistol the operative is equipped with, add 1 to that weapon's damage characteristics for the battle. Now, inherently not bad. In fact, it actually makes the little auto pistol a nice weapon, but you're probably not taking a Zangor with an auto pistol. Consider that. Gilded Horns, the final piece. Zangor Operative only. Gilded Horns, each time this operative fights in combat, if it performs a charge action during that activation in the roll attack dice save that combat, you can retain 1 of your attack dice results of 5 up that is a successful hit as a critical hit. So basically, 1 of your dice gets lethal 5 up. 1 EP, if you're going, I like it, especially on the Zangor champion, but both of his weapons were lethal 5 up, so irrelevant. And generally, these guys are so powerful here, you're not needing this. You're not needing your Zangors to deal damage. You need your Zangors to do things on points. So as it stands, I'm leaning towards none of that. I'm leaning towards continue to buff up your sorcerers. Which brings us finally to TacOps. Now these are the faction TacOps. I'm excited to read these because since the AdMech Hunter Clade came out, where I'm going to be honest, I don't think I had access to the faction TacOps before I really looked at them, I now understand TacOps. So hopefully I can actually give a bit of insight here. Faction TacOp 1, Scry Secret. Reveal this TacOp in the target reveal step of the first turning point. Your opponent selects one of their operatives to be holding a secret. If a friendly operative performs the Scry Secret action, you score 1 VP. At the end of the battle, if a friendly operative has performed the Scry Secret action and has not been incapacitated, you score 1 VP. Cool. Friendly Sorcerer operatives can perform the following mission action. Scry Secret. 1 AP, it's a psychic action. So this is taking the place of your standard manifest psychic power, I assume. I'd have to double check how that works. An operative can perform this action while within red of the enemy operative holding a secret. An operative cannot perform this action while within engagement range of an enemy operative. Your kill team can only perform this action once. Seems easy. You don't need line of sight or anything. You just need to be within red, within 6 inches. And you can only ever do it once. So let's say you do it, you perform it, and then that guy dies. You can't do it again. I like it inherently. It seems easy to score, especially if you're doing what I contemplated earlier, which is giving all of your sorcerers the melee weapons, relying on their psychic powers to be their shooting. You're going to be charging them up anyway. You're going to get within 6 of most enemies. And if you know there's a particular one that you can scry the secret of course, your opponent does get to choose who has the secret. Sorceress Ritual. Reveal this TacOp when a friendly operative performs the Sorceress Ritual action. If a friendly operative performs the Sorceress Ritual action in 2 or more turning points, you score 1 VP. If a friendly operative performs the Sorceress Ritual action in 3 or more turning points, you score 1 VP. Friendly Sorcerer operatives can perform the following mission action. Sorceress Ritual Psychic action. An operative can perform this action while within white of a ritual site. An operative cannot perform this action while within white of an enemy operative. A ritual site is the center of the kill zone or an objective marker that is more than red from your drop zone. Once a friendly operative performs this action, friendly operatives can only perform this action again at the same ritual site. Okay, cool. So this is very similar, I believe, to one of the 40k secondaries, which is probably called Perform Ritual or something like that. You run up, you pick the center or you pick one of these objectives, you just stand there and you do this 3 times. If you're contemplating picking this, you probably want to take the pistol because you're not going to be able to shoot much because you're using your psychic action on this. But equally, you don't really want to be in melee because, as it says, if you're within white of an enemy, you can't perform this. Bit of a tough one, I think, because this requires you to dominate the board to complete it. Faction TacOp 3 Grand Plan. Reveal this TacOp in the target reveal step of the first turning point. Your opponent selects one of their operatives and an objective marker that is more than red from their kill zone edge. They cannot select an objective marker that can be removed during the battle. If that enemy operative is incapacitated, you score 1 VP. If you control that objective marker at the end of any turning point, you score 1 VP. And that's it. That's the end of what are these called? The Warp Coven. That's the end of the Thousand Suns Warp Coven. All in all, seems really good. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to see how it all pans out, but I'm struggling to see when I wouldn't take 3 sorcerers. The whole faction seems to be built around taking 3 sorcerers. There are options in there to get a buff, like I said, with a second rubric, heavy gunner. But you have to not take 3 sorcerers to do that, and I can't see that ever happening, especially just to get a warp flamer. So it seems like 3 sorcerers is how you run this team, and then you either take, well, you take a mix of rubrics, almost certainly including the Soul Reaper cannon, if you take any. The banner could be a strong second pick, or even first pick if you're planning to really push the psychic powers. But otherwise, you probably want Zangors to get them on points and actually play the objective game. Interesting. Gosh, okay, so let's think about what I said at the beginning of this video. I feel like this is the first faction, apart from Commandos, that is just a straight buff over Compendium. I don't know why anyone would play the Compendium Thousand Suns compared to these guys. These guys seem to not only have more list building, but also seem to be more fun, and I think they're going to be very strong. It might take people a little bit of time to figure out exactly how to run them and how to use all of these psychic powers and which mutations and boons and stuff. And I think in that we might get a lot of variety as people want different boons and want different mutations and want different all of these things. But I think we are going to get this team to, don't know, just maybe, this team might be top tier. This seems really strong, is all I can say at the moment. Before playing it, I've only just read all of these rules. I don't know. 3 sorcerers, and then mix it up. A lot of people complain about the lack of list building. I think this is a team that might genuinely have a lot of different builds in the tournament scene, because, there are so many different options. But I do think you're always, I'm saying it now so that I can be wrong, because people love to make me be wrong. You're always taking 3 sorcerers. Seems super strong. I don't know why you wouldn't. Just from reading here, 3 sorcerers. You might load them out differently. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe you're not going to run them all with double melees. Maybe you're only going to run 1 with double melee. Maybe you're not going to run any with double melee. But as the only models that have 3 APL, you probably do want them on objectives. And the fact that they don't need their pistol or their correct, proper range weapon to make a ranged attack means you might as well go double melee, give them relentless. And then if you need to shoot, psychic powers. Coincidentally, I have a full Thousand Suns team. And the reason I hadn't played Thousand Suns before now is because I didn't have the banner bearer from Zangors, and there didn't seem much of a point in running just 2,000 Sun, 2 Rubric Marine squads, fire teams. And if you're running a Zangor fire team, there's no reason to not run a banner, and I didn't have the banner, so I felt a bit like, not going to run them. But yeah. Now I'm just going to run these, and I don't need the banner bearer because I'm not going to be taking that many Zangors to make it effective. I'm going to be running these. As you can probably tell, I'm back at my parents' due to a COVID scare. I managed to find petrol. I still haven't shaved, my bad. But if I'm lucky, if things work out, I'm hoping I can do some battle reports next week. Hopefully with Wes. We'll see if he's available. Otherwise, it's going to be weird. I have my Thousand Suns with me. I also have my Eldar with me, my Craft Worlds. I also have my Vet Guard. I also have 5 Infiltrators, and I also have my Necrons. Because Thousand Suns have just dropped, I'm probably going to play them first, at least. And after that, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, guys, this has been Glass Half Dead. What do you think about Thousand Suns? The Warp Coven. I think really strong. I'm looking forward to seeing them, and the fact that they don't have to deal with Custodes probably means we're going to get a bit of a skew of them right out of the gate, because there's not going to be the instant counter of, a new team, how do I beat them? I know, I'll just run Custodes because they're the best. These guys are just going to have to play the game, and they might be top tier. Let's find out. Anyway, guys, this has been Glass Half Dead. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, I would like to give you a big square hello. Wow, so wholesome, I know. Also, I'm away, so I haven't managed to edit in these sounds, have I? I'm really sorry, I just realised now. You've already figured this out because there wasn't going to be a sound with a circle hello. My bad there. Anyway, let me know what you think of the Warp Coven, and I will see you later in the week, no doubt, for more videos. Hope you've had a good day and continue to have a good day. Goodbye.